Viva was. Ma'am, we are grateful for your time and your gracious presence. We welcome you, ma'am. I
Thank you.
also want to extend our heartful welcome to Dr. C. Madhavaya, Professor, Department of Management Studies, Pondicherry University, who has joined us physically at the university. Sir, we sincerely welcome you for all your time you have given and traveled all the way from Pondicherry to Ranchi. I extend my welcome to all the other members present here, my dear faculty members. I would request now Sandhya to continue with her presentation. हो गया आपका सतीश जी लाइव हो गया Thank you. Thank you.
So your hard work, madam, is from MBA department of Commerce, Ramaya.
Ramaya.
Yeah, okay. My scarf is also working there.
Okay.
Yes, hello. I missed you, sorry. What is it, sir?
Padmaja madam, good morning.
Good morning, Bhavnara.
బాగున్నాను మేడం. మానవి మీ కొలీగ్ నా స్కాలర్ జస్ట్ ఇప్పుడే మాట్లాడాను.
Nice.
అనికర్ డి మానవి. ఎస్ మేడం.
Are we good to go?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Are we good to go? Are we good to start?
Yes, ma'am. Is the screen visible, ma'am, to you?
Ma'am, is the screen visible?
No. I can only see you are viewing ICFI Jharkhand screen, but I can't see anything.
Stop sharing.
Stop sharing कीजिए. अब share कीजिए. Yes. Share. Yes. Now, ma'am.
No. Yeah. It's coming now. Yes. Yes.
ठीक है.
उसको minimize
कर दीजिए. Okay, ma'am, it's visible now, ma'am.
Right now I can't see. I can only see y'all. I can't see the screen.
Okay.
Ma'am, is the slide visible to you?
No. Just a short while ago it was visible. Now I can't see.
1 second, ma'am. 1 second. Just give us a moment.
Yeah. See, Manisha, I'll show you. I'll take a snapshot and I'll show you what is visible to me.
Yeah, please send, ma'am. Please send.
Yeah, I'll just share with you on WhatsApp.
1 second, ma'am.
Is it visible now? Is it now visible, ma'am?
No. See, Manisha, I've just shared.
Yeah, ma'am. I can see, ma'am. Yes.
Kuch bhi nahi. I can't see anything better.
Okay. Share. Yes, ma'am. Now.
Yes. Now.
Now instead of slide sharing, sorry.
So please tell.
Slide show. Let me. Now okay, madam. Is it visible to you?
Yes.
I'll start.
Yes. Please go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. respected examiners, Shobna ma'am, and everyone, thank you very much for this opportunity for allowing me to present my final thesis today. The topic of my thesis is investigating relationship between circular awareness and practices in residential and tourist settings, a critical study in Indian context. My research supervisor is Dr. Shobna Chaudhary, who is with us here today. I'll quickly take you through my profile. I have done my bachelor's in law from Bangalore University, and then I went ahead and did my PGDM, which is equivalent to MBA Finance with SDM Mysore. And ever since then, I've been working in the domain of infrastructure project development and project advisory services, public-private partnerships. I've had a brief stint with PwC. I've also worked extensively with a firm called IDEC, which is a joint venture between Government of Karnataka and IDFC Foundation. Then on, I have been working independently for a while now, and I work with many multilateral development banks. I've taken assignments with Asian Development Bank, the World Bank, DFID, USAID, UNDP, GGI. I have worked in the transaction advisory space when it comes to project conceptualization, to feasibility, to structuring projects, to procurement process until identification of a private developer for development of infrastructure projects. In the course of this, I've also developed some knowledge-based documents on public-private partnerships for Department of Economic Affairs, Ministry of Finance. It's a published document there on the website, PPP Guide for Practitioners. I've also had the privilege of working on some policy development, tourism policy for Government of Karnataka, and also a municipal solid waste management policy for Government of Goa, and also was involved in capacity building senior government officials in the domain of PPPs. I'm currently working as senior manager with a firm called Green Urban FZD. This is again an infrastructure advisory firm based in Abu Dhabi. I help them and support them remotely from Bangalore. About my PhD journey, I got admissions in 2021. The topic was registered in October of 2022. I completed my pre-thesis in November 2025. And based on the comments that I've received, I've submitted the revised thesis to the university in 2026. I have presented papers and also published papers in journals. But all these things would not have been possible without the blessings of the Almighty and my Guru. I place on record special thanks to the leadership of ICFA University here, Honorable Vice Chancellor Colonel Dr. Ranjit Singh, Registrar Professor Dr. J.V. Patnaik. This entire journey would not be possible without Shobna ma'am for the nudges that she gave me throughout the process, and I'm very grateful to her. Dr. M. Rajkumar, he actually conducted some FDP programs which really helped in carrying out my quantitative research, which I've done as part of my thesis today. Dr. Rumna and Dr. Manisha ma'am, both were instrumental in helping us throughout the process. They're working with the PhD cell here, and I have done numerous follow-ups, and they've been patient enough to take me through the journey. Dr. Satyendra Kishore and Dr. Hariharan, senior faculty members of the university. Every project, ma'am, do you have? Ma'am?
Madam, are you there?
I'm there.
Okay, you carry on.
I'm there.
Yeah. So they were senior faculty members who every progress, yearly progress meetings, half-yearly progress, they gave me very good feedback. Subir sir and Barik sir, they were my supervisors and mentors during the early stages of my research. All professors and mentors of the university, my parents, my husband, and my children, without whom this would not be possible, and everyone else who have been instrumental in completion of my thesis. Why I choose this topic? I just want you to draw your attention to what is presented here. Sometimes it's pretty amazing that our society has reached a point where the effort necessary to extract oil from ground, ship it to a refinery, turn it into plastic, shape it appropriately, then send it to a store and buy it and bring it home. we would prefer to do that rather than wash a spoon and use it again. So the entire concept of circularity stems from this understanding of refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle resources. Circular economy and sustainable tourism, both are very relevant today. Circular tourism is a very under-researched topic, especially in India. Circular economy also, for that matter, is something that came into the government's purview in 2022. Until then, there was no document or any guideline or regulation from the government with respect to circular principles. I wanted to study whether awareness actually translates into practice. This is based on my experience. I've worked on policies for tourism and solid waste management, but there was no cross-linking between the two. The high point came when we were doing this solid waste management policy for Goa, where the floating population, the tourist population of Goa is much more than the residential population. And when travel happens, the per capita consumption is much more. Per capita waste generation is much more when we travel and do tourism. That is when this topic struck to me, that implementing circular economy principles not just at home but also traveling and tourism would be absolutely instrumental. Now, the study compares circular behavior at home and traveling. It examines whether home-based circular habits spill over into tourism settings. Here, there was a lack of empirical research. Whatever is there when I did the literature review, all the research that was available was case study based on what are the available circular economy models, and that was more focused on manufacturing and industry, on how industry could reutilize your existing products and make new products. But very little was spoken on the service sector. And one of the main service sectors we have today is tourism. And that also made me think this topic would be very relevant. Quickly, I'll take you to the content. It's introduction, review of literature, research methodology, data analysis, interpretation, results, data, and conclusion. And I will also take you through the action taken report on the feedback that I've received. When we speak of sustainable development, it's a broader concept. Sustainability involves balancing environmental well-being, societal well-being, at the same time achieving economic development, ensuring that whatever you do today will not restrict the future generation from making use of these resources. Circular economy focuses more on resource conservation. So if you're consuming a resource, you will first refuse, reduce, recycle that resource. So it's not a linear, take, make, dispose model, where you have a resource, which is like a raw material, you make a finished goods, and once you're used with the finished goods, you dispose it off. But the idea is to reuse it, recycle it, and recover from the existing product. So if the relationship between sustainable development and circular economy or circular economic principles is that circular economy is a tool to attain sustainable development in any domain. It could be tourism, it could be in our everyday lives, it could be in manufacturing. So this is the relationship between sustainable development and circular economy principles. Now, circular awareness and practices are two different things. One second.
What's your name, my first? Sandhya. Okay. Manisha, how long is the Viva schedule? What's the duration?
Ma'am, till 12:30, 1 hour. You want us to?
No, I would request the scholar not to go into too much of the explanation of the theoretical concepts, because we've gone through otherwise what will happen, we will run short of time to ask the relevant questions pertaining to the thesis and the methodology.
Yeah,
otherwise it will look like a classroom professor taking a class, no?
Okay, yeah, sure.
I hope the other professor is okay with this. Madhavaya garu, okay na?
It's okay.
Yeah. You can quickly run through the concepts, but please don't explain it in detail, because we are all teaching all of this. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. You can go ahead. Sorry for that.
Yeah, no worries. I'll make it quick. So that is the whole premise of this topic on why, and the context on why this topic is very relevant. Motivation and relevance. Tourism is considered to be the industry without chimney, because it is one of the highest emitter of greenhouse gases, and it is very relevant today to understand how sustainable tourism can, how sustainable tourism is to be. And for that, circular practices become very instrumental. In terms of research, when I looked at it, most of the research is available in the European countries, which is mostly in Germany. There is Ellen MacArthur Foundation, European Commission, which have come out with circular economy action plans. In the Chinese context, they have been very fast for, very progressive in including circular economy concepts since 2010. They have had included that as part of their 5-year plans, but which is not the case in India. In terms of literature review, I had to, because not much was available on circular tourism per se, I had to broaden my scope of research. I first looked into what is sustainable development, then circular economy, then circular tourism, and then circular awareness and practices. So I researched about 200 odd documents, different types of literature review. Guiding point was that circular tourism research is largely conceptual and case study based. There's hardly any empirical study in this domain. And another point was interesting. Awareness does not lead to practice or action every time. So I just wanted to understand the applicability of this into the circular economy principles. The relevant theories are theory of planned behavior, value belief norm theory, goal framing theory. These are all theories which have been tried and tested in how environmental behavior is shaped. Key research gaps. Lack of data on how tourist circular awareness affects behavior in emerging economies. So this study is not there in the Indian context at all. Nothing is there in the Indian context. Limited understanding of whether habits at home continue during travel. This was done with respect to pro-environmental behavior, not necessarily circular behavior. So this is something that we are trying to do here. Limited research on how demographic or travel factors affect tourism behavior.
How many papers did you cover? How many papers did you cover in literature review?
Altogether, ma'am, around 200, 217.
217, 217.
Yes, yes.
You've made a proper tabular representation and shown it to your guide as
Yes.
to,
Yeah.
which
Yes,
paper,
ma'am.
which author, which year was it published, the
Yes.
database, which database did you refer to?
It was Google Scholar largely.
You didn't use Scopus? You didn't use Scopus database?
Scopus database, but primarily Google Scholar is what we used because we don't have access to Scopus database from the university. So mostly all literature review are primarily Google Scholar based.
Then how would you know which paper is published in Scopus journals, index journals or not? Because Scopus index journals are the most authentic, no?
Yeah,
Because
so
SC EBSCO, ProQuest, all these will give you papers which is, which are non-Scopus indexed also. But please remember next time, if you're publishing papers out of this thesis, ensure, because obviously you will publish it in a Scopus index journal, right? And you would want your paper to be referred by outsiders or by other researchers. So a Scopus database is always valid for a PhD thesis of such a huge volume.
sure, yeah,
Yeah.
I take it. Thank you.
Yeah.
In terms of research problem, again, there was lack of empirical evidence, overdependence on studies from developed countries, mostly the West, unexplored spillover effect, that is, if there is something practiced in home, will it translate to the same behavior in travel or tourism? There was no research on the effect of demographic or travel characteristics on, circular awareness or practices. And there was no single model which linked all these, uncertainties or lesser known facts together. So this was the research problem, which led to the research objectives and questions. So which also further translated into the hypothesis. So I can maybe quickly go to the hypothesis. So to examine the impact of circular awareness on circular practices at
Yeah, I'd like to see the scope. I'd like to see the scope.
Okay. So the geographical scope is, the study is carried out in the Indian context. The thematic scope is, it investigates the circular awareness and its influence on circular practice at home and at tourist destination. It studies interrelationship between circular awareness and practices, explores the role of demographic factors like age, gender, education, occupation, income, and from where the respondent is from with respect to circular practices, assesses impact on travel characteristics like type of tourism product, how long is the travel, type of stay, travel group, accommodation, boarding type. And I have used different tools like SPSS and R11 for carrying out the statistical analysis.
What do you mean by tourism product here? The third one?
Yeah, so tourism product is, ma'am, the respondents were required to choose. So in the context of tourism product is the nature of the destination. It could be nature-based, heritage, pilgrimage, leisure, or relaxing products. So I had these 5 tourism products identified, which are mostly the top tourism products based on Ministry of Tourism findings. So every respondent was required to choose which tourism product or which place, the place that the respondent visited, which tourism product it belonged. Can I go ahead?
Yes, please go. Please go.
In terms of hypothesis, these were the hypotheses. I will explain this through the conceptual framework itself. The first hypothesis is there is a null hypothesis. So there is no significant relationship between circular awareness and circular practices at residence. Second, there is no relationship between circular awareness and circular practices at tourist destination. Third, there is no relationship between circular practices at residence and circular practices at tourist destination. There is no relationship between demographic profile and circular practices at residence. There is no relationship between demographic profile and circular practices at tourist destinations. There is no relationship between travel characteristics and circular practices at tourist destinations. Now, in this, the independent variables were circular awareness, demographic profile, and travel characteristics. Circular practices at tourist destinations, it served as the dependent variable. Circular practices at residence operated at mediating because it was, I have tested relationship of that through indirect pathways between circular awareness, demographic profile, and the practices at tourist destination. Demographic profile and travel characteristics, based on my literature research earlier, emerged to be as moderating variables, influencing the effect of awareness translating to practice. So this is my conceptual framework and the 6 hypotheses emerging out of it. Can I move?
Yeah, please go.
Research design and instrument. I have used a quantitative cross-sectional survey. The time frame for data collection was December 2024 to March 2025. I had established a structured questionnaire, which was self-administered survey items on a Likert scale of 5-point Likert scale, 1 strongly disagree to 5 strongly agree. These items, there were many previous studies which were conducted on pro-environmental behavior and sustainability. I extracted items from them and developed this questionnaire and contextualized it to Indian cultural setting. The pilot study was conducted, about 50 items. The pilot study, which was initially conducted, had about 58 questions. I brought it down to 50 questions after the pilot study. Conceptual basis is that the circular awareness, it is measured in Likert scale. Circular practices are also measured in Likert scale. I have ensured that the questions that form part of the questionnaire revolved around reduce, recycle, reuse, repair, conservation of energy, use of renewable energy, sustainable consumption, environmental and community-based activities. This largely defines what circularity principles are. If you look at the questionnaire, there were about 6 variables for demographic profile. name, age, gender, place of residence, occupation, level of education, monthly income. 5 for travel characteristics, accommodation type, boat type, trip duration, purpose of travel. About 8 for circular awareness, revolving around 3 main heads. Circular practices at residence had about 18 items, and circular practices at tourist destination had 13 items. In terms of sampling plan, my sample consisted of adults across India, and the sampling unit was every adult who has engaged in at least one travel experience in the past 2 years. What I did was that just to ensure that we had proper geographical representation pan-India, the whole of the country was divided into 6 major zones. Now, this is based on how administratively also India is sometimes divided into the 6 major zones, just to ensure that samples were collected from different parts of India and there was no regional bias in having samples collected only from major cities and towns. The sample size was determined by Yamani's formula, which wanted around, based on which around 400 samples were adequate. I collected on 446 responses. Now, these responses were partially complete and lacked completeness. So I went with 400 responses. So sampling method was stratified convenience sampling. Now, this has been used in many of the pro-environmental research on sustainable development, where, stratification is used for ease of respondent accessibility. In terms of data collection, I used online survey links, and these survey links were shared through different platforms, professional and academic platforms. And data screening, I looked for completeness, consistency, eligibility, duplicate entries were removed. After verification, we had like 400 valid responses. Like I said, it was on a Likert scale. And all the data that was collected was changed into numerical codes and used into SPSS and R11. The clean data set of 400 was used in SPSS for EFA, and R11 was used for confirmatory factor analysis and structure equation modeling.
Pilot. 1 second, Sandhya. The entire data was collected through Google Doc only? The entire data sets?
Was
everything was collected online?
Yes, yes. It was collected online.
Okay.
Pilot study was initially, I started with the pilot study with 60 participants, and I just to check the reliability and validity of the constructs, I tested them for Cronbach alpha. If you look at the table, I checked for individual constructs and sub-constructs as well. So all the values were above 0.8 and 0.7, which presented very good validity for me to continue with the questionnaire. Some changes and minor revisions were made into my questionnaire. I included some introductory notes and explanations on how what each section meant. So just to make it more clearer to the respondent. This is a summary of data analysis framework. We have descriptive statistics and frequency analysis, SPSS I've used. Reliability analysis was SPSS again. Exploratory factor analysis, SPSS. Confirmatory factor analysis was R11. Structure equation modeling and hypothesis testing again, R11. I have the details of all these graphs in the theses and also pictorial representation in the appendix. I'm just taking you through the summary of the descriptive statistics. Of the respondents that I collected, the age, about 80% were between 25 to 54 years, and the biggest segment was between 35 to 44 years, which is 41.5% of the data collected. What I want to point here is the average median age of the population of India is 29. So majority of the respondents in my sample were slightly higher than the median age of Indian population. Gender was fairly balanced. It was 50% male and 45% female. Majority were private sector professionals. About 10% were students, 11% were business owners. In terms of place of residence, since I adopted the stratified sampling, convenience sampling, I ensured that the number of respondents that I got from the different regions were proportionate to the population of those regions. So these percentages that you see are proportional to the actual population of these regions. Qualification, about 64% of the respondents were postgraduates or above. This, I think, is more attributed to the fact that the survey was administered online, and maybe also because it was through academic and professional networks, and also maybe the topic itself was something that was of interest to them. In terms of income, 32% prefer not to disclose. About 22% had income ranging from 50 to 150,000, 1,50,000 INR. About 9% had very high income over and above 3,50,000 INR. In terms of what they were supposed to report of what they did in the past, pick that one travel experience and speak about it, report about it. So in terms of accommodation, about 43% chose mid-range to high-end hotels, 29% chose budget stays, 12% stayed in homestays, 12% in resorts. Hostel and dormitories were least common. In terms of board type, this was interesting that nearly 2/3 opted for lodging with breakfast, and very few, like 18 to 19%, 18% just wanted to only stay at a hotel but not take any meals, arrange for it independently. Another 19% wanted like everything to be arranged by the hotel. Travel duration, again, was quite interesting, that mostly people like short getaways rather than very long trips. So when I say short getaways, it is from 1 to 4. There were two categories, 1 to 2 nights and 3 to 4 nights. But 1 to 4 nights, accounted for 81% of the respondents. Destination type, more than 50% travel for leisure and relaxation, 18% was spiritual and pilgrimage. This is the tourism product that we're talking about, and 13% chose nature-based travel. Most of the people, respondents, traveled with family, about 79%, 13% with friends, and 6% traveled solo. In terms of circular awareness, there were 8 items. Now here, when I asked these questions on circular awareness, the question was not that, are you aware of circular economy principles, or are you aware of circularity, etc. But the questions were such that the questions were more on understand the concepts of circular economy, like, do you segregate waste? Do you avoid wasting food? Do you reuse plastic bottles, etc.? Do you recycle cardboard? So there were eight items, and overall mean was 4.4 out of 5, which showed that there was high awareness amongst the respondents with respect to implementing awareness about circular economy principles. Highest awareness was towards energy conservation, where they were very clear that they had to switch off the appliances when not in use. We were looking at circular practices at residence. Again, the practice was largely observed. At home, people actually observe circular economy principles. Mean was around 4 out of 5. Recycling behaviors, about 67% agreed that they recycle paper, cardboard. 89% of the households segregate household waste. This could partially also be because of the law or the legal requirement that every household will have to segregate waste, or there are penalties. But in any which way, there was awareness, and there was also practice, some extent of practice that was observed at home. What was lacking was 38% recycled, very little, few people recycled cooking oil. This could also be due to health concerns, that many people chose not to do that. That was like a very trick question in the entire questionnaire. In terms of resource saving habit, water and electricity was extensively conserved between, amongst all households. But when it came to proactive actions like participating in a cleaning drive, such questions, there was not much. There was like moderate interest amongst respondents. Everyday eco-friendly choices was also high. This was quite interesting. Buying local produce, using green products, that was also more than 80%. Now, these are the practices which happened at household level. Now, we look at practices that happened at tourist destinations. This was again about 4 on 5. It was high. But what is interesting is that the tourists, when they were off and they were on travel, they tried to focus on few things only, but didn't do a lot of many other things. For instance, 95% of the people said they don't litter. They use proper dustbins to throw their waste. At the same time, they avoid wasting food at destinations. They also, carry reusable bags wherever possible when they're traveling. This also is attributable to ban of, single-use plastic. They also tend to conserve resources at hotel. This was quite interesting because based on, some case studies that I had read earlier, based on the literature review, it so happened that there was an inclination that when you're using these electrical appliances at home, we're very careful on when we switch on and switch it off. But when you're traveling, because you're paying for the room, there is a tendency that people may not conserve electricity and water to that extent. But interestingly, 82% actually said that they have been conserving electricity and water even while traveling. 77% willing to reuse hotel towels and linen. This was also a very interesting find. Some practices like using public transport was less, local shopping was less. Now, this I would attribute because in India there is lack of end mile connectivity when you're traveling. Maybe that could be the reason attributed to this. Participation in environmental activities during trips. This again, even if you go to a travel destination in India for now, there are very few options available where a person can engage in environmental activities. Since the avenues are less, the response was also less. One attribute where a lot of people said they do buy bottles, despite while traveling, you buy water bottles. So this was very interesting. Maybe this indicates to a fact that there is a need to have enabling infrastructure and have proper RO purifier units in travel destinations. Once the data was collected, we went with again reliability and validity. Again, we checked for Cronbach alpha for reliability. And if you see, it's almost 7 except for 2 constructs. But overall, if you see for circular awareness, circular practice at resident CPT, it is 0.9, 0.837, and 0.876. So I continued with the same instrument. There was one feedback, sir, on why I did exploratory and both confirmatory factor analysis. There was no established scale in this, research. I had to adapt the items from different other pro-environmental behavior scales. So I had to ensure that understand the underlying factor structure and then go about confirming it. So I had to do both EFA and SFA in the study, CFA in the study. Exploratory factor analysis for circular awareness, if you see, the KMO measure for sampling adequacy was higher than 0.8, above 0.66 acceptable. Even Bartlett's test of sphericity, it was significant, less than 0.001. Only one factor. So if you look at the eigenvalues, all above 1. So I had 8 factors. All 8 factors were, contributed into one single factor, and 53% variation in one factor was observed. So which directed that circular awareness was a unidimensional construct. All the 8 items supported the circular awareness construct. When I performed the same thing for circular practice at residence, 4 factors emerged. It was a 4-factor model, which explained for 54% variance. Again, sampling adequacy was 0.85, which was more than 0.6, which is the acceptable level. And Bartlett's test was also significant. 4 factors. So if you see the scree plot also, you can see after 4, the eigenvalue goes below 1. So 4 factors emerged for circular practices at residence. Circular practice at tourist destination, again, sampling adequacy was over 0.9, which is a very good indicator. The Bartlett's test of sphericity was significant. And here there were 2 factors. If you see, just 2 factors explain 53.1% of variance. So for circular practices at tourist destination, 2 factors emerged. Working. I also did the confirmatory factor analysis for each of the constructs, circular awareness. If you look into the model fit, the normed chi-square is very high, but that is sensitive to the sample size. But normed chi-square was less than 3, which is acceptable. Most of the other fits were also quite acceptable, which said that this was a good fit to continue. If we look at the different factor loadings here of the 8 items, all items were above 7, which very clearly explained the understanding of circular awareness amongst respondents. The highest in terms of factor loadings came from views, recycle and repair construct, and that water must be consumed. So these were very strong indicators of circular awareness principles. For confirmatory factor analysis for circular tourism at residence, again, the values, if you see, were a good fit. All the values were within acceptable ranges. And 4 factors emerged from this. The first one is circular purchase behavior, sustainable and active living, waste segregation, and energy resource conservation. Now, in this, if you see, the factor loadings range from 0.3 to 0.6, showed convergent validity. However, highest reliability was observed for the items under circular awareness and purchase behavior and for ERC, which is energy resource conservation. Waste segregation and resource had weaker loadings. In terms of the relationship between the 4 factors, if we see, the strongest relationship was between sustainable and active lifestyle and energy resource conservation, which means that people who adopt a sustainable lifestyle are more likely to adopt energy resource and conservation measures. So you can see the 4 underlying 4 factor model there with the factor loadings between each of them. For circular practices at tourist destination, again, the values norm chi-square was less than 3. And it again, most of the indicators and indexes fit the requirements of acceptable levels, which demonstrated that it had a good model fit. And 2 latent factors emerged here: energy resource conservation at tourist destination and sustainable active living again in tourist destination. Here, if you see, the both shared a very good correlation of 0.773, a very strong relation, which said that if a respondent was likely to ensure that energy and resources are conserved at the tourist destination, would also adopt a sustainable lifestyle at the tourist destination. In terms of structural equation modeling, again, the overall fit, if you see, the norm chi-square was less than 3, and all the other indices also fit the acceptable levels. So I went ahead and generated the path diagram in R11. There were 6 paths which were tested. One is whether circular awareness leads to circular practices at residence, circular awareness leading to circular practices at tourist destination, circular practices at residence leading to circular practices at tourist destinations, demographic factors affecting circular practices at residence, demographic factors affecting circular practices at tourist destinations, and travel characteristics impacting circular practices at tourist destinations. So this is the SEM path diagram. Now coming to each of the hypotheses that was tested. First one was whether circular awareness has a relationship with circular practices at residence. The path coefficient was 0.536 and significance was less than 0.001, which shows there is strong positive correlation between circular awareness and circular practices at home. Individuals who are aware of circular economy principles are more likely to practice that at home in the daily residential setting. Circular awareness explains about 28.7% of variance in circular practices at residence. This was very, it supposed to premise that awareness is necessary for behavior. Although it is not just enough, but it is necessary. It's a critical antecedent to behavior, and awareness can shape attitudes and intentions towards behavior. So it was supportive of the existing theories. Hypothesis 2, circular awareness. There is no significant relation between circular awareness and circular practices at tourist destination. Here, the strength of this relationship is quite weak, because circular awareness explains only 2.3% of variance in circular practices at tourist destinations. This I would primarily attribute to the lack of enabling infrastructure at circular tourist destinations. I might be aware that I have to throw, waste in proper bins, but when I go to the destination, maybe there are no bins. I know I should not keep buying water bottles, but maybe there is no RO purifier there to the place that I visit. So basically, lack of enabling infrastructure could be a reason which I thought is attributable to this findings, that circular awareness may not translate to circular practices at tourist destination.
Can you repeat the same point what you said just now? When you visited the places?
Yeah, so I am aware that I have to segregate waste, but when I go to a tourist destination, I don't find bins to segregate waste. I dump everything in one
Because you observed. You observed.
No, the reason, the fact that it is not,
Okay.
yeah,
What?
I have observed. Because so there are ecotourism hotels like in Coorg and all, very fancy hotels, and they actually give purified water in glass bottles. But the mindset is that they will pay 120 rupees and buy bottled water. The tourist buys. This is something that, when I visited one of the property during work. So this is one of the, things that they came on. That, this is the issue. We have proper water, purified water, but still people don't buy. They want.
Sandhya, have you which places did you personally visit? You said Mysore.
Coorg.
Coorg and Mysore, these are all very, I don't know. Please, I'm a hardcore South Indian, but I've grown up in North to a large extent. Please pardon me, but you have very good crowd in Coorg and Mysore and all. Okay, if you go to places like Banaras, Haridwar, all these places, you should see. I mean, I recently visited Banaras, and it was, no matter how much we will talk and tell, I myself purchased bottled water. I was there for 2 days. So I don't know what is the cleanliness of the and the purity of the water. So and it is also the awareness levels of the respondents. So Coorg, Mysore, Hyderabad, all these, you don't get a very unpolished. By and large, people are very well aware, and good educated crowd goes there.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you go to crowded historical destinations, like I was recently at Ayodhya and Banaras, I didn't find the kind of findings that you're saying.
No, absolutely, ma'am. So my first point was that circular awareness is not translating to circular practices at tourist destinations simply because there is no enabling infrastructure. The second bullet point, because there is limited availability of this enabling infrastructure, like you mentioned, waste bins or RO water, purified water. That is one extreme end of it.
Waste bins are there. There are a good number of waste bins. Every tourist is conscious of not throwing plastic near the riverbeds or near the beach. They are very conscious, that I've seen. But I don't think there is any concept of RO water. So why will people not carry their bottled water? That's just a
So in the responses to the survey, about 82% of people bought water bottles, bottled water. So the reason being, if RO purifiable water is made available or accessible to the respondents, then maybe they would have chosen not to buy those bottles. So in terms of enabling infrastructure, not for everything, but for some factors like bottled water, which was one of the highlights, that 82% continue to buy those bottled waters. Maybe, ma'am, it is because, that facility is not available at destinations. Or maybe even if the facility is available, maybe the respondent is not 100% sure or confident about using that, product which is made available to them.
So do you agree that it's a behavioral problem? It's not more about the infrastructure. I will come back to these questions. I've also sent it in my report. I will ask those questions. I don't want to interfere now. I have a few pertinent questions. Yeah,
sure.
please go ahead. Yeah.
Circular practices at residence translate to circular practices at tourist destination. There was a very strong correlation here. If a person practiced circular practices at home, there was a spillover effect. More likely to practice the circular, behavior at tourist destination. About 62% of the circular practice at residence alone explains, the variance in circular practices at tourist destination. When we looked at demographic variables, each of these demographic variables treated as an exogenous variable in the structural equation modeling. Age had a significant impact on the practices at practices at residence. Older respondents demonstrated higher engagement in circular practices. They were more resource conservative. They conserved more resource. They tried to reuse things more, repair things and use them more compared to the younger generation, younger respondents. In terms of qualification, higher educational attainment also influenced more people to practice circularity at residences. In gender, although the p-value is 0.65, if you take, at 10% significance, female respondents exhibit slightly higher circular tendency of practicing circular behaviors at homes. Now, this was in line with the literature review that I did, where pro-environmental behavior, women are more likely to be pro-environmental than men. So it was in line. However, place of residence from where the respondent came from, their occupation and monthly income had no impact. In terms of okay, sorry. So in terms of demographic factors affecting circular practices at destinations, none of the demographic variables had an impact on practices at tourist destinations. So the hypothesis this is the last one. Travel characteristics having an impact on circular practices at tourist destinations. Now, in this, only the tourism product. So if a respondent went for a nature-based event or say a Coorg or a Munnar or a nature-based product, then there was some attribute that led to the respondent practicing circular practices at tourist destinations. But accommodation, the type of accommodation the respondent was with, the boarding type, how long the duration was, travel company, whether with family or not, all these things did not have an impact on the circular practices. Yeah, I'll just take you to the summary of each objective null hypothesis and what is the status post the analysis. There is no significant relationship between circular awareness and practices at home. It is rejected. Higher the awareness, more likely the respondents are to practice circularity at home. There is no significant relationship between circular awareness and circular practices at tourist destination. This is again rejected because there is a weak relationship, between circular awareness and circular practices at tourist destination. Not as much as the first, but there is some relationship here. There is no significant relationship between circular practices at residence and circular practices at tourist destination. This is rejected. It's a very strong relationship between a respondent practicing circular principles at residence is more likely to practice circular principles at tourist destination. Very strong correlation which supports spillover behavior. There is no significant relationship between demographic profile and circular practices. Age, education have an impact on circular practices at residence. Older people are more likely to practice circularity at home. At the same time, higher the education levels, more is the practice. There's no significant relationship between demographic profile and circular practices at tourist destinations. Accepted, there is no significant relationship. There is no significant relationship between travel characteristics and circular practices at cruises as partially rejected because one category, if a respondent is visiting nature-based trips, then it's more likely to practice circularity at those travel destinations. No. Getting stuck. Yeah, I'm sorry for that. So, next slide. Can I continue, ma'am? Is the slide visible to you?
Please go ahead. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Limitations of research. What I have taken is a cross-sectional design at the current point in time. The data is self-reported. Convenient sampling was used to ensure representativeness. Model excludes other possible mediators. There could be many other mediators. My focus was on circular awareness and practices and the relationship of demographic profile and travel characteristics. There is lack of standard scales for awareness and practices right now. So I had to adapt the items based on other pro-environmental behavior scales. EFA, CFA results indicate scope for scale refinement because there are no scales right now. Findings are more context specific to India, but this can be again brought to specific region. This research can be carried out for specific products like nature-based, heritage, spiritual, or it can be taken for a certain state specific and then looked in silo. Segment level differences need deeper analysis because right now, the understanding was to only understand the relationship between awareness and practice, but maybe awareness only with respect to resource conservation could be very different from the findings when we get into in-depth of resource conservation alone vis-a-vis community friendly activities. We can look at longitudinal and comparative and mixed method approaches were not part of this because my primary objective was to test the hypothesis in an interrelationship. So I have not taken mixed method approach.
Precisely my question. I've mentioned it. I was just seeing my comments which I have put in the report. Why did you not use a mixed method approach? You've put it there as your limitation. Because these are more of behavioral issues, and no matter you may have a lot of infrastructural benefits in the future or infrastructural facilities being provided, but these are all behavioral issues of the tourists. Do you agree, Raghavaya sir? Sorry, what's sir's name? Raghavaya sir, no?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Raghavaya, do you agree, sir? It is more of a behavioral issue. Are you done with your presentation, Sandhya?
Just 2 more slides, ma'am. Can I?
What are those slides?
Areas for further research and recommendations.
No, that's okay. Just show the slides. Just show the slides. Now you see, that's why I was telling you, don't go into too much of explanation in the beginning. We're at 12:15. Otherwise, we will run short of time for the question answer. Limitations. Yeah.
And then I have the action taken report. It's getting stuck.
It's okay. आप उसको या तो बाद में PPT को share भी कर सकते हैं. I have no problem. Yeah.
And these are appendix so above this. नहीं नहीं ये हो गया था, ये अपेंडिक्स में है.
It's okay, Sandhya.
Yeah, we can. Yes, it's the same. Yeah, so, ma'am, you can start with the question. I mean, it's just 2 slides here. Areas for research and.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ma'am, we can, if you have questions.
Yeah. So it was a very well detailed thesis, because I'm sure you put in a lot of effort to talk about various concepts of circular economy, and you've also used the theory of planned behavior and value belief. Now, I've gone through your thesis in detail. Now, can you tell me in what way was goal framing theory linked to your thesis?
So in terms of, so there are some goals which are, every person has different goals. So if you're going to meet a certain standard, your the environment which you're in will influence your, will influence your decision to perform a certain behavior. Okay, let me put it this way. So for every individual to present a certain behavior, there are a lot of, there are different goals, societal goals, uh, uh, different levels of goals. So how a person would behave in a particular environment would also be associated with, accomplishment of those goals. So it's in that relevance. It was not directly related to my conceptual framework. Framework was more based on the value belief norm theory and theory of planned behavior, but I also researched the goal framing theory as part of my research. But it was not very directly included or involved in the conceptual framework.
So then you could have linked it to sustainable development goals, right? Because it's all related to environment and sustainability.
Yes. So, ma'am, sustainable development goals, there are 17 goals, but it's just these goals are across different domains like resource conservation, production, supply, poverty enhancement, food for all, and there are different. So my circular economy concepts didn't properly fit into all of these goals. Like there is circularity involved in each of these goals. So I just had to limit and focus towards only awareness and practice at this stage. Because I have been working on CSR report developments where we're using how CSR initiatives are affecting SDGs. But here in this study, I couldn't get the two things together because SDGs is a larger umbrella under which circular economy principles are like a tool to achieve SDGs. So it was very hard to connect the two.
Madhve Garu, can I ask a few more questions before you take it over?
Please, ma'am, please.
Yeah. I'm not very clear about the scope of your research because when you say pan India, have you just picked up a few? What exactly is your scope of your research? I'm not very clear about that.
So the scope of the research is the whole of India. My population was adult population who have undertaken travel in the past 2 years, any one travel. So that was the criteria. So my sampling frame was all adult individuals of the country who have carried out one travel experience in the past 2 years. Now, I wanted to collect the sample in such a way that it was well geographically represented. So I used a stratified sampling where the whole of India was divided into 6 major regions: north, south, east, west, center, and northeast. And from these different zones, I collected samples through convenience sampling. I know the ideal way of doing it would have been a probabilistic random sampling, but I simply don't have the list of adult names and it was humanly not possible given the time and constraints. So I went with convenience sampling. From each of these 6 zones, I collected samples. The number of samples that was collected from these zones was proportionate to the population of these zones. So if 20% of the population of India came from south of India, I ensured that in my sample size, 20% of the respondents were from south of India. So
now you collected all your data through online and Google Docs. You think the people have understood about circular economy and sustainability? What is the authenticity of the data? I'll tell you why. Now, if you would have done a mixed method since this is more of your behavioral issue, to me, it looks more of a behavioral gap. Okay. If you would have conducted a few in-depth interviews, okay, maybe about 30, 40 or 50, and 2, 3 focus group discussions, there you would have got in detail the actual problems, because in a questionnaire and in a Google Doc, particularly if you get it from WhatsApp and online surveys, people will it's a mechanical way of ticking. I myself don't open so many questionnaires because I feel sometimes lack of time or awareness about certain topics. So how did you validate the authenticity of the data? That is one. I think a mixed method would have been better, where you would have got in-depth understanding of the problematic areas by conducting focus group discussions and probing through proper interviews. That's my point. Sir, do you agree with that, Madhvya sir? Do you agree
Yes,
with that?
Yes.
ma'am, I'll come to you for the first point. So the kind of questions that was asked to the respondents were not on their academic or conceptual understanding of circularity or sustainable development. The questions was investment in energy efficiency equipment is good. Using sustainable means of transport is good for the environment.
Madam, kitne log samjhenge? How many people will understand? That's all I'm trying to say. I'm not doubting your effort of collecting the data.
Okay.
But circular economy and questions related to sustainability, you think people would have understood, ladies, people who are not working but were very particular about traveling to religious destinations? You think they would have given the right answers? That's my only query.
Yeah, ma'am, I get your point, but these questions were, whatever were the questions that were asked were pertinent to your day-to-day practices. There were no questions which were like very, where jargons were used or some very complicated processes were asked or discussed. These are day-to-day questions like, would you, believe in segregation of waste? Would you, switch off electrical appliances when you are not using them? Would you repair items before you, buy new things? So questions were very simple and in very simple sentence were formed. So anyone who would have understood the language and would have gone through the brief introduction would have understood it. But yes, I do get your point that mixed method and more of interviews with hoteliers, restaurant owners would have added more insights to it.
Yeah, that's my point there. If you would have taken more stakeholders. So when I say stakeholders, because it's a very large survey that you've done, and so had you taken the responses from people who own people who own these homestays in Coorg and or in Mysore or in other places, hotels or lodges, and maybe a few government officials, then you would have got a better result
Yeah,
and numbers.
I completely accept your point, ma'am. It's just that till now, whatever research is available or literature is available on circularity or sustainable development is largely case study based. So there are a lot of case studies on these hotels, properties, restaurants, and tourism service providers, tour agencies, and how they implement sustainable practices. So I just wanted to have my research more quantitative and empirical based. For sure, I would really want to research this further going forward and look at the qualitative side of it to maybe support some of the inferences that have come through this research. it's a very point well noted and taken, ma'am.
Okay, one last question. Have you used any apps, AI? Because today all
Yeah.
researchers are using AI and technology. Have you made use of technology and AI and apps?
So again, I would have limited my scope here only on understanding awareness and practices, because if I was to include use of AI and applications into the study, it would have opened up, a whole lot other variables like ease of use of technology, acceptability by respondents, trust on technology, etc. So the scope here was limited, but that has been a possibility of having AI apps make a respondent to make a choice for circular practices or hotels or tourism service providers that focus on circularity. That could be a scope for future, but I have not used it.
Over to you, Raghav, sir. Over to you.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sandhya.
Yeah.
So first of all, I appreciate you for your nice presentation, very extensive. And the topic chosen itself is somewhat different compared to regular topics, what majority of the PhD scholars are choosing. And some of the points what Madam has highlighted, I too have same concerns. That is authenticity of the data. So in your work, contradicting views are there. You mentioned that there is no much literature related to the topic what you have chosen. But at the same time, based on the previous research works only, we have found out some of the items for your study. Dimensions, items and all for 5-point measurement scale. Just now you mentioned that majority case studies only are there. So what do you mean by literature, first of all? So some questions you can answer, you may not answer also, but issue you understand. In future, that will be useful to you.
So just to clarify one point, sir. So there have been case studies on circular and sustainable development. There have been empirical studies on pro-environmental behavior. There have been some scales for sustainable.
I'm asking about the difference between literature and the things what you have collected from the case study. Can we consider case study related things as literature? In what circumstances it can become the literature for review?
So case studies are also part of literature, because when
from case studies, how we have chosen the constructs, dimensions, and items.
So it's through case studies where there were a lot of case studies on sustainable tourism. So when I looked into sustainable tourism, there were three aspects to it. One is resource conservation, where you're conserving water, electricity, or whatever resource is there at the tourist location. The second part is where you have pro-environmental behavior, where you participate in voluntary activities.
No, these are all the dimensions, okay. Variables for measurement.
Came through the literature, case studies, and there was some empirical on sustainable.
That you have to tell, because some empirical studies were also there, but not in Indian context. In foreign context, they are there. So which are all suitable for the Indian context, you have taken as it is.
Yes.
Right? Since such a, and another thing is, case study is research of qualitative research. And as Madam suggested, focus group interviews are very, very essential. As you mentioned, there are no previously available studies. Very few studies are there. When very few studies are there, to have some broad understanding about the topic what you're doing, focus group interviews are very, very important with all the stakeholders, what Madam said. And case study research already have done. Available case studies are there. From that, you have studied something. So from all these, you have done something. But some qualitative research methods you have not followed. That's why you are telling that future researchers have to concentrate on mixed methods research. So inherently, your work is mixed methods only. But you fail to explain clearly, because the case study research you have done. Okay, from that you extracted something to develop your theory. Basically, previous research works which are published in the similar kind of area in different contexts, if you review those works and if you try to take for your study in Indian context, then we can say you have reviewed the proper literature. Accordingly, you have developed the scale, right? And another thing is, previously available scales are not there, you mentioned. Since previously available scales are not there, you are developing your own scale.
Yeah,
Am I correct?
yes, yes.
In that case, scale development process, can you tell? Scale development process. That means you are starting from zero. Since there were no scales earlier, in order to develop this kind of scale, you started from zero. Understand? So what is the scale development process? Thorough understand? Understanding? Yeah.
Yeah, that's very important. Correct. Very valid point, sir.
So that point you have to keep in mind. And many issues are there to ask. Some of the things you can answer. If you don't have idea, leave it. Don't worry. And surprising thing is, stratified sampling is probability sampling. Convenience sampling is non-probability sampling. Why this hybrid method we have followed? Stratified convenience sampling. Here, first thing is, when population is clearly defined and population size is there, pre-plan you can have sampling plan. Now, what you did is, after collecting data through online, after understanding the basic characteristics of your sample, then you come out with your own sampling method like stratified convenience sampling. Am I right? Have you ever seen in any methodology book?
I actually circulated and I collected the samples. So the moment I
Samples, how? No. Before sending the link for filling up the data, have you done any groundwork for a sampling plan? You can't.
Yeah.
Because your respondents are segregated. Huge population where there are no figures. So that's why you can't proceed with that. Simple convenience sampling is enough. Once after collecting data, you segregated based on certain criteria. So after doing that, you cannot mention that it is stratified. And geographical scope, something you have mentioned. When it is online, when everything is spread across the geography, that is not in your hand. Randomly, they have come, they have responded. So geographical related demographic things and all what you have mentioned, that is descriptive statistics, what you have mentioned there. Okay, so scope, the geographic scope, it is better to avoid. And is there any surety that only Indian respondents are responded or any foreign respondents? Okay, you are sure about it. That's one thing. Another thing is, in the limitations especially, just go to the limitations. Many scholars, they make mistake there only. See, one recipe, it is not having impressive taste. Once it is not impressive, then why you have to serve in the plate? You understood? Not support something you have mentioned. Tourism destination, something that link, no? There, when it is not supported, no need to mention. Understand? And another doubt is, up to exploratory factor analysis, you have gone for SPSS. Then all of a sudden, why you have shifted to R level?
So that was paid. Yes, I didn't have to pay it.
These days, AMOS are used by many people, and PLS SEM, wonderful pictures it creates.
Why
You
you
can
have
go.
to use art level.
You are not the just nascent researcher. Already you worked in so many companies.
Correct. Absolutely. Very good point. And see, beta, Sandhya, see, don't expect everything from the guide and from the university. There are a lot of things which a researcher, and with so much of stuff available over AI and internet, doing
Yes.
PhD is very easy these days, you know. We
So
struggle to collect data, get questionnaires filled. We struggle, but no comparison. It's now a generation gap. So I actually wanted you to look at Scopus database, because those researches will give you accurate information, you know, because Scopus may say publish nahi hota. You'll have to, you know, go through the rigor, right? That is one. Second, which Raghavaya sir clearly mentioned, that you know, so many softwares available these days, Amos and Vivo, so many softwares are available for qualitative data, that you could have, you know, made use of those. That's a very valid point made by sir.
I have R11 had equal. I was able to complete.
Actually, that image, if it is vertical, it looks good. That vertical image, you made it horizontal.
Part in my.
It looks somewhat upward. That's what I'm telling. If it is generated in PLS SCM, wonderful, beautiful, colorful images it will create.
So I mean,
Some small drawbacks. No need to consider so much.
Yeah.
And the thing already in the title itself, we have clearly mentioned the same thing should not be a part of limitation. Once you define the scope clearly, all the points that are there in the scope should not become the part of limitation. I think she has given more number of limitations there. That's what I want to know.
now after I got feedback, I have.
And some common limitations are there. Studies findings may not be generalized to the entire population. These are all waste. Those things you can remove. And future researchers, they can focus on so and so. What constrained you to go for that? You mentioned mixed method research can be carried out by the future researchers. Why can't you? Sufficient time gap is there. You know the procedure and all. And longitudinal study also you have mentioned. You want to go for what is longitudinal study?
So right now I've done the study. So if there is a policy which from the government which has some enabling infrastructure being created at tourist destination, then we can see the difference between at a later point in time. Over a stretch of time, I'm doing a study down, and after some interventions, I'm doing the study later to see how it is.
With a different respondents?
Yes. No, with the same respondents.
How is it possible? In convenience sampling?
Not convenience.
See, some studies cannot permit you to go for longitudinal studies. That is a different setting, right? That's why what I'm telling is 2-3 limitations are enough, not more than that. Let it be completely related to your study, right? So, you want some more to ask?
I am done, sir. I have asked. I don't want her to feel stressed out. Because the study is quite relevant and the topic is quite relevant, especially from the SDG point of view and the current focus on sustainability and circular economy. But my only, I'm not doubting, but there's a slight apprehension about the way the respondents would have answered the questions, because it is all online and few people may not even understand about circular economy and sustainability. That's my only concern.
No, actually these days, madam, when the questionnaire is administered through online,
Yeah,
how they are answering and all, whether they are completely reading the question, that is a big question mark.
correct.
But once we get the responses and when they are falling in our Excel sheet, she will be satisfied, this many people have responded, this is enough for analysis.
Correct. That's why my suggestion to Madam Shuvona also, who's our guide, ma'am, further researches, uh, although I'm a pure behavioral, I teach OB and I teach leadership and all of these qualitative social sciences papers, knowledge management and talent acquisition and all. But ma'am, next time, even if it's a finance or marketing paper, anything, any concept, any thesis, let there be a mixed method, so that even if the online data or the quantitative data में थोड़ा से गड़बड़ होने से भी at least the qualitative interviews will be very reliable, because you're collecting that first hand. You can't make that up. That will be more realistic. I'm not denying the authenticity of quantitative data, but a mixed method is always better.
One clarification I want to give you. Qualitative data is different, qualitative research is different.
Yeah.
Quantitative data is different, quantitative research is different.
Yes.
Quantitative data, secondary data also you can collect. Okay, you can proceed further for analysis. In case of qualitative data, secondary data also you can collect. But qualitative research, always better to go for primary by conducting focus group interviews, ethnographic studies. And now these days in ethnographic studies, case study, but one part you achieved, case study research you have done. So it is a partly mixed methods research only. And another thing is, madam rightly asked one question. Goal framing theory, how you are able to relate? That is madam's question. My question is theory of phrasal behavior, right? Age 19, planned behavior. 1991, age. There you mentioned awareness, attitude, intention. But in your model, attitude and intention is not there. How you can relate?
Correct. It's not correct. It's not getting covered and highlighted. Yet the theories which you have stated in your synopsis and at the beginning are very relevant, but I'm not able to see that outcome in the discussion part or in the analysis part. Am I right, sir? Yeah. Yeah.
No, tomorrow you are going to become the guide, right? So you should not think it as a trivial thing. So you are trying to relate one theory because your research is theory building activity.
Correct.
Already you worked as a consultant for consultant companies. Whatever you do, that is for consultancy research only. From that, you cannot build the theory. So you refer to case studies. Just simply based on the case studies, you cannot build the theory here. That's why we always expect for the previous empirical research works relevant to your area. Then if you are able to create something new by developing a scale, that is the path-breaking research normally. Okay. So these are all the things what you have to keep in mind, total process. And madam asked about the databases, what you have referred, Scopus. And as a PhD scholar in management discipline, prominent journals, at least 20 to 25 research journals names, you should have your tongue tip. Our expectation normally. And Scopus, it is a combination of all ProQuest and all. And if I ask you specifically for your area, you should be able to tell some specific publishers like Springer, Taylor and Francis, Sage,
Elsevier.
And each one you have to Wiley, each one you have to take out and at least 3-4 journals names. If you are able to tell, you will keep mum. Yeah. Scholar is very sound.
That's why I asked her, sir, did you make a tabular format? Sir, in Ramya University, I'm a guide at Ramya University. I have 2 scholars there. The first thing that that is important for the scholar is they will make a table of the number of papers that they have reviewed, and they'll make title of the paper, which year the paper was published, name of the journal, whether the journal is indexed in Scopus or not, what were the objectives of the research of that particular paper, objectives, findings, limitations, and which is the publisher, whether it is Taylor and Francis, Wiley's, Elsevier. That kind of a table the scholar makes for all the 200 or 250 papers. That is like a brief. That itself is a very good a tool for you to understand how you have progressed, because a thorough literature review shows the true caliber of a good scholar. It's not about you, but Sandhya, don't get me wrong. It's about a thorough literature review is a true indicator of very good research, which sets the tone and precedence for your further research gap and framing the objectives and framing the research questions. That's why I asked. Hope you don't mind. Yeah.
Ma'am, in fact, in our university also, I have that Excel of all the literature that's been reviewed. It's already been submitted to the PhD cell. Even we keep updating it during every half-yearly progress meeting.
Actually, the thing is not university level policy, individual scholar specific. You can do something better. Okay. In way of preparing and in way of presenting us. Because a lot of slides what you have mentioned, just dumping of some data is there. That can be beautified. These days, scholars, how they are doing, my God. When I compare with my days, my presentation was nothing.
Sir, we didn't even know what PhD we were doing, sir. Now when I feel, I want to do one more PhD, but I feel I'm already middle-aged, but I want to do one more PhD with great rigor, because those days we did it because we wanted to grow.
Yes.
Now we just understand the depth.
Frankly speaking, these days scholars are doing well. Accessibility is there, more information is available. By sitting in a single room, you are telling that accessibility is not here, subscription is not here. But if you sit for only 1 week on your topic, some hundreds and hundreds of articles through different channels you can get. But you should know the art of browsing. Art of browsing. You can get everything. Okay. Thank you, madam. Then anything else?
Okay, nice. Can we log off? Is there anything else?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, we have our Assistant Dean, Dr. Rajkumar here.
Namaste, sir. Namaste, Dr. Rajkumar. Namaste.
And
Just one question, so I'll align with sir's statement. You created the statement by yourself, or you have adopted a scale and made some modification in there. There is something called as adoption.
Adaptation.
So what you did in that?
So there were some pro-environmental scales. So I used the same statement in as part of my questionnaire.
So you made some modifications in the scale as per your study, or is it exactly fitting with your study?
Few were fitting, and some I had to adapt for Indian context.
No, actually, if that is the case, item-wise source also you can mention.
Okay.
Maybe the this is not here, of course. At least in this is if it is there, that will not.
It's there. I've said.
So you have mentioned, right, construct, where the constructor come from, what is the reference? So something like that you
Yes,
made it.
yes.
So did you make any changes in the measurement or say scale? Like, is it 5-point scale and you
No,
put it in
it's all,
So you have
just
answered the same.
5-point scale like that.
So I was asking you a question, have you developed the scale right
No,
from
no, no,
scratch,
no, no,
or
like
have
scale.
you adopted?
I didn't, maybe
Online? Sir?
no. Right now, he was there when you were asking.
Okay. That's fine. Sometime back I asked you the question.
See?
That only I'm just asking the same question.
Now it's understood.
Okay.
Same 5-point like this.
so,
Mr. Sir.
I'll just check.
Good. Good, Sandhya. You can take forward this research. Good. Take forward this research. Let ICFA University benefit through publications of your research. And इस research से आपके बहुत सारे papers निकलेंगे. Particularly when you link it to behaviors, no, age related, behaviors related, stakeholders, from the point of view of stakeholders, you'll get a lot of research papers.
One more doubt. Madam mentioned. Actually, demographic characteristics you link it to some variables. Demographics you measured using the nominal scale. Other variables you measured using the interval scale. So nominal scale items, nominal scale related data, interval related data, how you have joined to measure the relationship?
I converted the demographic data into numerical codes.
How? Gender is there, male and female. Probably in your SPSS you might have mentioned 1, 2 or 0, 1. That is nominal data. Categorical data. Categorical data. This is interval data. How directly you used that? See, whatever numerical value you mention for categorical data, it will not have the face value. Weight of an individual is 25 kilos means it will have the face value, ratio data. But nominal, just you are assigning value. That value it will take as it is for analysis. Normally, demographic features, is there any difference with respect to their awareness levels? Certain economy awareness levels, is there any difference between male and female? Is there any difference among various educational qualification groups? In such a way, by using either a t-test or other tests, I know if more than one are there, or 2 are there. Additionally, some other tests are also there. Ad hoc tests you have to do. Actually, that should be done in such a way. That is a question I asked in the report also. How can you justify? Because measurement scale is important. Nominal data, interval data, how you have to relate. Okay, that you keep in mind. Any other thing, ma'am?
Ma'am, registrar sir is coming, so to just continue with this thing. If the panel members, are the panel members satisfied with the scholar's presentation?
Madam, what about you, madam? You are satisfied?
Yeah, I've already mentioned. See, she's done a detailed analysis with demographics and a lot of data she's collected. I just felt, since it is more of a behavioral, it's the paper, the study is more related to behaviors. The focus could have been more tilted to the findings, and the analysis could have been more linked to the behavioral part, because her introduction was good. She framed it on good theories, but I didn't see that logical connect in the findings. That's my only concern. Otherwise, I think it's good to go. We can call her doctor.
Yeah.
That's from my side.
Shall I announce?
Yes.
Okay. So, Sandhya Prithesh, Shet. She has chosen the topic investigating the relationship between secular awareness and practices in residential and tourist settings, a critical study in the Indian context. So I think all the reviews have given good positive feedback about that. And in my case also, I am really impressed with the work what you have carried out. And we are really satisfied with your way of presentation and the variables what you have chosen. In what way your work itself is somewhat different compared to all traditional works. So with this, we are satisfied with the work and your way of presentation. And we never hesitate to recommend doctorate to Sandhya by ICFA University after fulfilling other requirements of the university. Thank you. I wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir.
Sir.
Padmaja ma'am, we have our registrar sir with us.
Namaste, sir. Good afternoon. Namaste.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. How are you, madam?
I'm good. Who is the registrar? Mr. Patnaik? Dr. Patnaik?
Yes.
Stop sharing. Sir.
Namaste. Namaste. I think we did speak last month.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice to meet you.
MS Ramaya.
MS Ramaya.
Yeah, I'm with the Autonomous Institute. I'm with Ramya Institute of Management.
Yeah.
So we are a 32-year-old institution in Bangalore. And we are a part of the larger Ramya group. So our course is duly accredited by NBA and we are affiliated to AICT. We are not a part of Ramya University. They have their own MBA. But I'm a registered guide with Ramya University. I have 2 scholars there. I have 1 scholar at Manipal Institute of Higher Academy here in Bangalore at Mahe. I have 1 with Manipal and 2 with Ramya University.
Very nice, madam.
We would be happy to be a part of your, if you could extend your research, Madam Shivona, maybe we would be happy to contribute in your paper and link it to behaviors, because anything to do with personal dimensions of an individual will have larger scope to probe. That's my personal. So we would be happy to contribute in your paper for that. Yes. Dr. Patnaik, go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
Madam,
Yeah.
your final comments before.
My final comments, she's good to go. She can, yeah, she's ICFA University is can go ahead to recommend Miss Sandhya to prefix her name with Doctor. DR.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. So on behalf of ICFA University Jharkhand, I would like to thank Dr. Padmaja ma'am for being there with us and giving your valuable inputs. I would also like to thank Madhavya sir for coming to Ranchi all the way from Tirupati at short notice. Thank you so much, sir.
Madhavya sir, I'm in Tirupati day after. I have a marriage to attend. In fact, when she called me, I said, I'm going to Tirupati. I didn't know it would be scheduled so
soon. Your number from madam and I will call you.
Yeah. I have a wedding to attend. I'll be there Wednesday and Thursday. 2 days ఉంటాను అక్కడ.
Okay, madam. Okay, మీరు రండి, నేను వస్తాను.
Sir, you're with SV University?
No, madam. Actually, everything was in SV University, Sri Venkateshwara University.
Sorry, sir, I didn't hear you.
Everything in SV University only. Graduation, post-graduation, PhD, everything Sri Venkateshwara University.
Okay, so you're currently there only at Sri Venkateshwara University?
No, madam, Pondicherry University. In 2010, I joined in Pondicherry University.
Oh, you're now with Pondicherry University.
Yes.
That's also good central university.
Yeah, Pondicherry Central University.
So, ma'am, I would also like to congratulate the scholar.
Yes.
And also the guide.
Yes, I forgot to mention. Sorry for that, because guide ka bahut contribution hota hai. We should not ignore the contribution and the effort put in by the guide, because scholar thoda karega, guide hand holding to bahut karna padta hai na. So congratulations to ICFA University, to the guide Dr. Shivona, and to the now the new doctorate Dr. Sandhya. Congratulations to all the 3. See, it's a joint collaboration, no? We all have to work together. Thank you. Can I log off, sir? Dr. Patnaik, can I log off? Dr. Patnaik, can I log off?
Yeah, madam.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you, ma'am.
Thanks.
On
Namaste.
basis of the recommendation by both the
You will not forget your card.